for the recruitment of nominees for appointment as the chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, a notice of motion that will be given by the Senate Majority Leader. If you're just joining us, is that the House is about to sit for this day's afternoon plenary sitting. Time allocated for the sitting is 2:30. However, as you can see, members have not yet made their way into the House as may be expected as of now. The Majority Whip, Honorable Boni Halwale, has walked in. Of course, now we can see more members. Senator for Kitui, Senator for Lamu, among other senators, as we have seen, have just made their way into the chambers. And of course, we're expecting that the House will be able to commence its business once the quorum is raised. At the entrance of the Senate chambers, some activities. The mess ahead of the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast that is brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. My name is Kamche Menza. Good afternoon.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka. Sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Tutakuomba tuwajalie, tuyatende na kufikia mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The prayer has been said and the chair taken. However, as provided for in the House Standing Orders 39 and 40, at least 15 senators should be seated or be inside the chambers after the prayer is said and the chair taken. If that is not present, then that would necessitate that quorum bell that the Speaker has directed to be rung for 10 minutes. This is an allowance for the members who may be within the precincts of Parliament, but yet to make their way into the chamber to perhaps hasten their steps and be able to get to the chambers to enable the House raise that required quorum. And of course, what we shall be seeing from now until that quorum is attained is members of the Senate, or more members will be making their way into the chambers. And once that quorum is achieved, then we shall hand you over to the business of the day that is lined up for consideration. Talking about the business to be transacted pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 53-1, where senators have an opportunity, or this standing order provides for the senators to request or seek for statements from various standing committees. The Senator for Kisumu County, Senator Professor Tom Mojenda, will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the violent clashes in Sondu town, which resulted in 3 fatalities. The Senator for Kisumu County will again seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding professionalism in the public service transport sector. And also the Senator for Kisumu will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the establishment and conservation of wildlife corridors in Kisumu County. Also, the Senator for Taita Taveta, Honorable Jonas Mwaruma, this afternoon will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and this is with regards to the scheme of service for national government administrative officers, specifically chiefs and assistant chiefs. These are some of the statements that are as provided for in the House Standing Order 53, paragraph 1. These senators will be able to seek various statements, of course, from various standing committees. These statements are matters concerning counties, inter-county, national, regional, and they will be forwarded to the relevant standing committees to submit responses with regards to the concerns that may have been raised in the statements. If you're just joining us, is that the House is about to commence its business. It, however, lacks the required quorum, or it has not quorated yet. At least 15 senators should be inside the chambers. I can see Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei has also made his way into the chamber. Remember, the clerks are also keeping tabs with the numbers of the senators inside the chamber. Once that quorum is raised, then the Speaker will call the House to order and the business will, without any further delay, begin. Senator Faki, Senator Edwin Sifuna, Minority Leader of the Senate, Honorable Stewart Mazayo, have also walked into the chamber. I believe the quorum may have been achieved now. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast. Good afternoon.
Senator Issa Boy. Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order, please.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Clerk, we do have communications to make. Now, honorable senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's gallery this afternoon, visiting delegation from the Department of Administration of the Parliament of Ghana. The delegation comprises 7 staff who are on a benchmarking visit to the Parliament of Kenya to equip them with the best practices and operations on the administrative function. I request each member to be upstanding when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Ms. Patience Sibyl Osei, Ms. Sheila Janet Noye, Mr. Edwin Anyetei Ayeng, Mr. Ari Nuseli Alma, Mr. Hayford Bekoe, Mr. Dudo Frederick, Ms. Maud Asnam Ameyibo. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to you and wish you a fruitful visit. Honorable members also have another communication to pass. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting students and teachers from Miranda Boys High School in Siaya County. The delegation comprises 58 students and 4 teachers who are undertaking an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting students and teachers from Githukimundu Comprehensive School in Nyeri County. The delegation comprises 45 students and 5 teachers who are undertaking an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Majority Whip and 1 minute to extend a word of welcome to the delegation from the Parliament of Ghana. And thereafter, I will ask, once he takes his seat, the Senator for Siaya County to also extend a word of welcome to welcome the delegation from Miranda Boys High School. And I will also ask I'll ask Senator Oroba to extend a word of welcome to welcome the delegation from Githukimundu Comprehensive School in Nyeri County, in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for nominating me to welcome our visitors from Ghana. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of colleagues, I want to assure them that they will enjoy. Kenya is a good place. They should not just be limited to the precincts of Parliament, but they could go further. If they so wish, I can exchange with them my number. And with a reason, Mr. Speaker, that I know Ghana very well. I was trained at the World Bank Group on Independence Avenue, the rich suburb in Accra. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure them that while in Ghana, I used to enjoy fufu, a special dish, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, it's a dish, interesting. You eat and you take 24 hours without feeling hungry. It is only after I partook of that dish I realized why Ghanaian players are very good in soccer. Please send our greetings to our colleagues in Accra. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me the opportunity to welcome Miranda High School to this August House. Mr. Speaker, sir, for information of the House, this is my home school where I went to school from Standard 1, and we were learning under trees. And Mr. Speaker, this is the same school where my father went to school. This is the same school where my brother Raila also went to school. And this is the same school where all of us went to school. And Mr. Speaker, so I'm an alumni. I am an alumni of the school. And it is so great, Mr. Speaker, that one time, this small school in a village managed to be #1 in the whole of Kenya, even transpassing Alliance. Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of this school. It is always on top there, on top of the schools, and we want them to maintain the standards and keep the banner burning. Let the banner keep on burning. Mr. Speaker, we highly welcome them to the Senate, and I'm so happy, Mr. Speaker, that they have decided to come to the Senate, which is the upper house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to pass my warm regards to the students in the gallery and to welcome them to this upper house, the Senate of Kenya. As you can see, this is not a house just for old men, as they say, but this is a house where women are also represented, and we also have a couple of young legislators. So I want to urge you to feel, first of all, I want you to feel welcome, but I want to urge you to not only learn from the work that we do here, but to also learn from our mistakes so that you don't repeat the mistakes in future when you finally come to this house. Mr. Speaker, I also want to welcome the delegation from Ghana, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is like my second home, Mr. Speaker. I have studied there. I have worked there, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I have a huge family in Ghana, Mr. Speaker. So I want to welcome the delegation from Ghana. And you know, in Ghana, they say that they have actually been given a name. They call me MFA in Ghana, you know, from Ewe. So you please feel welcomed, and I will look for you. I will look for you outside of chambers so that we can have a cup of tea and discuss on areas of further collaboration, seeing as we are already collaborating. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Now, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 232(1)A, I report a petition regarding threats, intimidation, harassment, and eviction of residents of Ganda Ward by agents of private developers. The petition has been submitted through the clerk by Honorable Oscar Wanje, a member of County Assembly of Kilifi County, representing Ganda Ward. The minority leader, you may wish to listen to this petition. As you're aware, under Article 119(1) of the Constitution, and I quote, every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including to enact, amend, or repeal any legislation. The salient issues raised in the petition are as follows. 1, there are over 6,000 households residing on plot numbers 87, 170, 216, 238, 240, 255, 256, 288, 299, 308, 372, and 403 in Ganda Ward have faced persistent threats, intimidation, harassment, and eviction attempts by alleged agents of private developers. That the residents have lived on the said plots for over 50 years and have established homes, schools, churches, mosques, and social amenities. That the residents occupying these plots have experienced constant harassment by alleged private developers. These actions have escalated tensions within the community and raised security concerns among the local residents and leaders. That on the 7th of October 2024, the residents wrote to the Mombasa Land Registrar and the National Land Commission requesting an official property search and intervention regarding the threats they were facing. However, these efforts yielded no results. That on the 28th of October 2024, the residents submitted another request to the County Land Registrar for the deed plan for the plots. However, this effort was also unsuccessful. That despite numerous attempts to seek redress from the Land Registrar, National Land Commission, and the Ministry of Lands and Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, responses have been unsatisfactory. The lack of resolution has left residents vulnerable to further harassment and intimidation, and that the concerns raised in this petition are not pending before any court of law or other constitutional or legal body. That consequently, the petitioner prays that the Senate intervenes and investigates the concerns raised in this petition with a view to do the following. 1, makes appropriate recommendations including making proposals for legislative interventions as may be necessary to address the issues raised in the petition. And 2, recommend the fast tracking of the process of adjudication and granting ownership of the land to the residents of plot numbers 87, 170, 216, 238, 240, 255, 256, 288, 299, 308, 372, and 403 in Ganda Ward. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, I commit the petition to the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources for consideration. And in terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required, in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer, which is today, to table its report in the Senate for consideration. I thank you, Honorable Senators. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 3rd April 2025, being the report of the Auditor General on Kitui County Climate Change Fund for 15 months period ended 30th of June 2024.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, Senator Bass.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate. Today, 3rd April 2025, report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations and the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Laban Masudi concerning the restraining county government from hiring law firms to represent them in court cases. I beg to lay.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to give notice to the following motion, namely the extension of the time of the selection panel for the recruitment of nominees for appointment as the chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Aware that Vide Gazette Notice number 1901 and 2643, dated 14th of February 2023 and 1st of March 2023 respectively, His Excellency the President declared 1 vacancy for the position of chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and 6 vacancies for the position of member of the IEBC, and further aware that by Gazette number 715 of 27th of January 2025, His Excellency the President appointed members of the selection panel for the recruitment of nominees for the appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, noting, Mr. Speaker, that upon its appointment, the selection panel commenced the recruitment process and long-listed all the applicants and subsequently short-listed qualified applicants for the positions of chairperson and member of the IEBC. Further, noting that paragraph 6.1 of the first schedule to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act, Cap 7C, provides that the selection panel shall finalize the recruitment exercise within 90 days of its appointment and forward those names of the nominees to the President, and conscious that the selection panel is currently undertaking the interviews of the shortlisted candidates for the positions of chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and that given the interview schedule of all shortlisted applicants, the selection panel has inadequate time to conclude the recruitment process, and further conscious of the need for the selection panel to ensure the recruitment process complies with the constitutional principles of regional balance, representation of the youth, and overall inclusivity, while ensuring that the interviews are conducted as far as is practical within official working days and hours. Now, therefore, pursuant to the provisions of paragraph 6.2 of the first schedule to the IEBC Act, Cap 7C, the Houses of Parliament resolve to extend the tenure of the selection panel for recruitment of the persons for appointment as chairperson and members of the IEBC by a period of 14 days from 28th of April 2025. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Abbas.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I want to give notice on motion report on the Standing Committee on Devolution and Government Relations and the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Laban Omasudi concerning the restraining of county government from the hiring of law firms to represent them in the courts. Honorable Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Government Relations and Legal Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights a petition to the Senate by Mr. Laban Omasudi concerning restraining county governments from hiring the law firms to represent them in the courts. Cases laid on the table on the Senate on Tuesday, 3rd April 2025. I beg to lay.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. The Honorable Senator Professor Tom Ojenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I read this statement on behalf of Senator Professor Senior Counsel Tom Ojenda. First is a statement on professionalism in the public service transport sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding professionalism in the public service transport sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the 12th of March 2025, a conductor of a Super Metro Circle Limited, Super Metro, passenger service vehicle pushed a passenger out of a moving bus, leading to a passenger's untimely death. This reckless and inhuman act is not only a violation of human rights, but also raises concerns about the professionalism and conduct of PSV drivers and conductors across the country. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the actions being taken by the National Transport and Safety Authority and other law enforcement agencies to fast-track investigations into the specified tragic incident and to prosecute those responsible. Secondly, the measures in place to ensure strict adherence to PSV operators to establish professional standards in respect of licensing, training of their drivers and conductors, and enforcement of ethical conduct amongst the drivers and conductors. Third, the steps taken to curb misconduct and violence by PSV drivers and conductors, including the disciplinary and monitoring mechanisms in place to guarantee passenger safety. Fourth, policy or legislative proposals to enhance professionalism, accountability, and overall passenger safety in the public service transport sector. On the second statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations regarding the violent clashes that occurred on the 22nd of February 2025 in Sondu Town, which is located along the border of Kisumu and Kericho counties, which tragically resulted in the 3 fatalities. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, the causes, timelines, and impacts of the clashes, including the number of casualties, extent of property destruction, displacement of residents, and any historical disputes or boundary ambiguities contributing to tensions in the Sondu area. Second, the immediate security interventions undertaken to restore calm, including the deployment of law enforcement personnel, coordination between the national and county governments, and efforts to prevent further escalation. Third, the role of local traders, elders, and peace committees in conflict and mediation, and assessment of the effectiveness of existing peace accords and community-based resolution mechanisms. Fourth, the long-term strategies being implemented to ensure sustainable peace and development in the region, outlining community engagement initiatives, infrastructure investment, and social economic programs to address root causes of conflict. Fifth, the measures in place to ensure accountability for those responsible for the violence, including investigations, arrests, prosecutions, and steps taken to break the circle of impunity in the region. On the third statement, Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the establishment and conservation of wildlife corridors with a specific focus on Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the rapid urbanization and agricultural expansion have increasingly encroached upon key ecological zones, threatening species such as hippos, impalas, and over 115 bird species found in the Kisumu Impala Sanctuary. Additionally, human-wildlife conflicts, particularly around Lake Victoria, pose risks to both local communities and wildlife populations, given that Kenya's tourism sector contributes approximately to 10% of the GDP and provides over 1.8 million jobs. Safeguarding these corridors is crucial for maintaining ecological balance and sustaining economic benefits. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, existing and proposed wildlife corridors in Kisumu County, their significance in conservation and biodiversity protection, and the role of Kenya Wildlife Service, which is KWS, and county authorities in their management, and the level of funding and resources allocated by both national and county governments for their development and long-term sustainability. Second, the impact of human settlements, infrastructural projects, and agricultural expansion on wildlife movements and ecological balance in the region. Third, measures put in place to mitigate human-wildlife conflicts, particularly in areas where the wildlife corridors intersect with community settlements. Fourth, the government efforts to secure land for conservation and any plans to encourage local communities in core management strategies. Fifth, data on wildlife species affected by the habitat fragmentation in Kisumu County and the conservation strategies being implemented for their protection. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Maruma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to request for a statement on the scheme of service for chiefs and assistant chiefs. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations concerning the scheme of service for national government administrative officers, specifically chiefs and assistant chiefs. In the statement, the committee should address the following: the scheme of service currently guiding the recruitment, promotion, and career progression of chiefs and assistant chiefs, including when it was last reviewed or updated. 2, the criteria used for hiring and promoting chiefs and assistant chiefs, including the entry-level job group, highest attainable job group within the ranks, and the minimum and maximum duration an officer stays within a job group before promotion. 3, the breakdown of emoluments received by chiefs and assistant chiefs, including but not limited to basic salary, housing allowance, transport allowance, extraneous allowance, and annual salary increments. And 4, the existing gaps and reforms needed in the current scheme of service to address stagnation in career progression and improve motivation and retention among these officers. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Majority Leader. The Majority Leader.
Statement by the Senate Majority Leader on the business of the Senate for the week commencing 8th of April 2025 at Tuesday, pursuant to Standing Order number 57.1. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to the Standing Order 57.1, I hereby present the business for the week commencing 8th of April 2025, Tuesday. Before I proceed, Mr. Speaker, with the statement, I take this opportunity to welcome honorable senators back from the short recess. I hope honorable senators took the time to rest, spend time with family and friends, those ones who have, reconnect with constituents, and rejuvenate themselves for part 2 of the 4th session. As honorable senators will recall, on 27th March 2025, Thursday, the Senate held a special sitting during which motions on the adoption of the reports of the County Public Accounts Committee and County Public Investments Committee and special funds were considered and approved. Additionally, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2025, was considered and passed at the second reading stage. I take this opportunity to thank honorable senators for availing themselves for the special sitting and for their dedication to the work we were able to accomplish. Mr. Speaker, the status of the legislative business pending before the Senate is as follows: 51 bills, which 42 of them are at the second reading stage, and 17 are at the committee of the whole stage. 33 motions are pending conclusion. 26 petitions, Mr. Speaker, are pending conclusion, out of which 18 are due for reporting by the respective standing committees. 568 statements pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 are under consideration by committees. As honorable senators will recall, during yesterday's afternoon sitting, Wednesday, 2nd April 2025, the Speaker gave directives concerning the processing of statements. In this regard, I implore honorable senators to adhere to the provisions of Standing Order number 55 when making a request for a statement. On Tuesday, 8th April 2025, the Senate Business Committee will meet to consider the business for the week. The tentative business for that day will include business not concluded from today's order paper, as well as the business indicated in the notice paper. The tentative business for the morning sitting on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, will include schedule of questions to Cabinet Secretaries as approved by the Senate Business Committee, as well as motions. The questions scheduled include question to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry by Senator James Murango, MP. Question to the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Economic Planning by Senator Enoch Wambua, CBS MP. Question to the Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury and Economic Planning by James Murango, MP. Question to Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Economic Planning by Senator Professor Thomas Ojenda, Senior Counsel, MP. Question to Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transportation by Senator Mohammed Chute, MP. Question to the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transportation by James Murango, and with the same Secretary, question by Professor Tom Ojenda, Senior Counsel, MP, and similarly to the same question to the same Cabinet Secretary, question by Senator Maanzo, EBS, MP. And finally, question to the same Secretary by Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS, MP. Mr. Speaker, the tentative business for the afternoon sitting on Wednesday, 9th April 2025 will include business not concluded from the order paper for April 8th, Tuesday 2025, and also cover the following. Bills as a second reading stage. The county government's state officers removal from office procedure bill, the creative economy support bill, the county government's amendment bill, the labor migration and management bill, the street naming and property addressing systems bill. Also included will be business at the committee of the whole, namely the early childhood education bill, the local content bill, the street wonders bill, the county public finance laws bill, the cooperative societies bill, the public fundraising appeals bill, the heritage and museums bill, the county library services and the county library services bill. The projected business for Tuesday, 10th of April, 2025 will include, Mr. Speaker, business not conducted on the order paper for 9th of April, 2025, Wednesday, and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, I do thank you and hereby lay this statement on the table of the House.
Now, honorable senators, I will allow comments for not more than 15 minutes on the statements that have been requested. Senator Fernandi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you. My statement is concerning, the Senator for Taita Taveta on the issue of scheme of service for national government administration officers, especially chiefs and assistant chiefs. Mr. Speaker, I would have wished that the Senator would have added also the scheme of service of Nyumba Kumi and village elders. But I think these are the issues that we can discuss when the minister appears before the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because chiefs and assistant chiefs, Mr. Speaker, are over-glorified social workers. Everything that happens in the village at location and sub-location level, we always depend on the chiefs, Mr. Speaker. They undergo, I have seen even chiefs in North Rift, in Baringo, the chiefs are becoming easy target of criminals and bandits in that region. Anywhere you go, chiefs are becoming easy targets of criminal attacks, Mr. Speaker, and even bandits. And therefore, they must be protected at all costs. And schemes of service, Mr. Speaker, must be provided to them so that they can discharge their duties without fear or favor or being easy targets of criminals and bandits, Mr. Speaker. So I think, Mr. Speaker, with the amendment of the law, now I am happy that the assistant chiefs and chiefs have been assigned the administration police officers for easy enforcement. I see people going to see chiefs for marital problems, land issues, cultural differences, and they normally are present, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, and finally, is we need to look also about the Nyumba Kumi, because they assist us in ensuring that there is peace. I remember the other day, was it Kuala or Kilifi, that they were machete-wielding criminal gangs. Many areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to request to write on this statement the issue of village elders. We must include them, Mr. Speaker. This issue of giving them stipend is not enough. Mr. Speaker, the village elders are very critical. And I want to appeal to the Ministry of Interior that they should not, Mr. Speaker, include academic qualification. Mr. Speaker, village elders are enough the way they are. You don't need to give the academic qualification they need to have is to understand the cultural norms and behavior of a community. Because most of the time, the village elders have become the cornerstone of rule of law and order within the community, Mr. Speaker. So the village elders, we don't even need to know whether they went to school or not. If you want to become a village elder in Wambua, Senator Wambua's village, are you above 40 years? Are you married, Mr. Speaker? Do you understand the local culture of the place, Mr. Speaker? And they give you the job and they're being paid, Mr. Speaker. This issue of telling village elders that they need to have academic qualifications is that in this country we have brilliant fools, Mr. Speaker. There are many brilliant fools in this country that cannot do even a quarter of what our village elders are doing, Mr. Speaker. So the issue of stipend to village elders, we should make it a salary, give them office, give them the peck and call of administration police to ensure they enforce, Mr. Speaker, on issues of marital issues, the issues of cultural differences, and the issues of assisting and tracking of criminals within our society, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those very remarks, I support this statement and hope to see that the scheme of service of assistant chiefs, village elders, and Nyumba Kumi are well factored in for the protection of societal order within our villages, locations, and even within our counties. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Wambua, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to make comments on the statement brought by the Senator for Taita Taveta on the scheme of service for chiefs and assistant chiefs. The Speaker, just to add something small, that the Speaker, the service provided by these administrators at the local level, the Speaker, is so crucial that in fact an assistant chief plays the role of a judge, they play the role of family counselors, they play the role of administrators and arbitrators. The Speaker, the service that they offer is so critical that there is need for a proper scheme of service, complete with clarity, Mr. Speaker, on career progression path. A situation where, Mr. Speaker, someone can begin as a village elder, as an assistant chief, and aspire to go through the administrative ladder
and even one day become a regional commissioner. That, Mr. Speaker, that progression must be so clear that the people that grow in the system are people who understand how the system works. The Speaker, on the matter that Senator Cherargei has brought to the floor on village elders, I don't agree with Senator Cherargei on a number of things, on a lot of things actually. But on this one, the Speaker, I agree with him. The Speaker, village elders, let us not even make the service of village elders too academic, or too elitist. Why do you need a university degree to be able to resolve small little village issues, Mr. Speaker? The best qualification for a village elder is a person who is mature enough to understand the challenges of the village and who is known within the village, who knows the boundaries of the village, who knows relationships within the families in the village, the culture of the village. We shouldn't make these things too academic, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, you're going to have a situation where everything that we do, even now is just saying that the people who work in our farms must have degrees in agriculture. Mr. Speaker, let us just be realistic. Where the rubber meets the road in the villages, let us have mature men and women who can arbitrate on issues, people who understand the issues in their villages. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to laud the Senator of Taita Taveta. The issue of the role of chiefs is truly misunderstood. Chiefs and assistant chiefs, Mr. Speaker, are very important. You do not have to ask. The moment you enter Magarini like this and you meet an assistant chief, their discipline, their demeanor, their grasp of local issues is always congruent to what I find in Luahaha, in Bungoma, Mr. Speaker. What is lacking, Mr. Speaker, is the national appreciation of their work. Mr. Speaker, look at the critical area of alternative resolution of disputes. Chiefs and assistant chiefs are the only ones who are not corrupt in that court. They are able to preside over serious issues, including land issues, and they settle those things amicably without having to be corrupted. But allowed to go through the normal legal process, families will spend their years without end, waste hundreds of thousands of shillings, and no resolution of the dispute will come, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to add that we have to have clear distinction between the chiefs and their roles and the new look police stations. There are now so many police stations in villages. So the police will ask the assistant chief to go and arrest criminals. And the chiefs and assistant chiefs, they risk their lives because some of these criminals are violent people. And when they hand them over at the police station, the OCS then creates a kangaroo court and releases the same criminals. The criminals go back to the village. They attack the assistant chief and the chief. We need to protect these people. And this protection, Mr. Speaker, should appreciate that they also need medical cover. Mr. Speaker, our chiefs require to be trained and be formally be armed by firearms for their own protection and their facilitation to carry out their duties. And finally, most governors across the country have created a parallel administrative unit. Some call it village administrators, whatever they call them. We need to harmonize between the two levels of government so that there's no clashing. Sometimes you go to public functions and you hear the chief being contradicted by the community area administrator from a county government. I support this very important statement.
Senator Fake, 3 minutes.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Mwarumo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kazi inayofanywa na machifu na wazee wa mitaa ni kazi muhimu sana katika nchi yetu, na kwa hakika wanafanya kazi ngumu. Kwa mfano kule Mombasa, kuna mzee wa mtaa alipigwa risasi na akauliwa na majambazi ambao walikuwa ni wanahusiana na ugaidi, yani Al-Shabaab, na familia ikaondoka patupu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ni muhimu kwa zile kazi wanazofanya, kwa sababu mambo mengine ambayo yanapelekwa kwa polisi yanaenda mahakamani inachukua muda mrefu kutatuliwa kuliko yale ambayo yanazungumzwa kwa chifu na kwa kupitia wazee ambao wanakaa kwa chifu kutatuliwa, hususan masuala ya kijamii kama vile ugomvi kati ya bibi na bwana nyumbani. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa ni watu muhimu sana, na hivi sasa kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa kazi, Mheshimiwa Spika, baadhi ya machifu ambao wanaajiriwa wamefika mpaka chuo kikuu na wana shahada ya degree katika masomo au katika taaluma mbalimbali ambazo wamesomea, lakini kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa kazi wanaendelea kuwa wanafanya kazi ya chief. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu sana kwa jamii kuwatambua watu hawa na umuhimu wao katika jamii. Mheshimiwa Spika, zamani hata wanafunzi wa university ilikuwa wakifukuzwa lazima wakaripoti kwa chief, na japokuwa chief hakusoma lakini lazima uripoti kwake ndio uone ile authority ama umuhimu wa kazi ya chief. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima watu hawa tamu zao za kazi ziweze kuboreshwa ili wanapofanya kazi na majukumu ambao wamepewa, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaweza kuyafanya kwa kuzingatia kwamba kazi yao inatambulika. Hivi sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, majuzi Waziri Murkomen alitoa agizo kwamba iwapo kutapatikana pombe haramu katika eneo fulani, chifu yule atapoteza kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo sio njia ya kuweza kuwashajaisha machifu kufanya kazi. Wanafanya kazi muhimu, kwa hivyo kazi yao lazima itambuliwe, na vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, waweze kulipwa mshahara ambao utazingatia zile kazi na changamoto wanazozipata katika kazi zao. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Nderitu.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii kuchangia taarifa iliyoletwa na Senator Jonas Mwaruma. Bwana Spika, ni vizuri julikane wazi kwamba machifu pamoja na naibu wa machifu wana kazi muhimu wanayofanya sana. Bwana Spika, ikumbukwe kwamba hawa manaibu wa chifu ndio wanashughulikia mambo ya usalama pamoja na wazee wa mitaani. Bwana Spika, ukitembea kama Laikipia unapata machifu wengi kwa sababu wao ndio wanahusika sana mambo ya usalama. Unapata mfano ukienda mahali panaitwa Doldor, kumeuawa chifu kwa sababu yeye ndio anahusika. Ng'ombe wanapoibiwa wao ndio wako katika mstari wa mbele kufuata, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo wanapaswa washughulikiwe. Unapata anatumia pikipiki yake ambayo hajapewa na serikali, anatumia mafuta yake, ilhali Bwana Spika, yule chifu anatumia hela zake na hawezi kupewa fidia na serikali, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo taarifa hii imeletwa na inasema kwamba kuongezwa kwa mamlaka ama madaraka, Bwana Spika, unapata ya kwamba haifuati ule mfululizo wa masomo walionayo, Bwana Spika. Unapata wengi wao akiwa ni naibu chief, ameajiriwa akiwa naibu chief, atastaafu akiwa naibu chief, Bwana Spika, hawezi kufika kiwango kingine, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kuangaliwe kazi anayofanya. Bwana Spika, kitambo kidogo manaibu wa chifu na chifu walikuwa wamepewa askari wako na askari pale, atatumiwa wale askari ikiwa anataka kufuata wezi, ikiwa anataka wale ambao wagema ambao anatengeneza pombe, unapata anaenda na wale askari. Lakini kwa wakati huu, Bwana Spika, huyu chifu hana mlinzi yoyote. Yeye ni kama mwananchi wa kawaida. Kile ako nacho pengine ni ile sare ya maafisa wa usalama, lakini hana chochote kingine, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo yeye ni kama mwananchi wa kawaida. Kwa hivyo haya mapendekezo yakipelekwa katika kamati, kunapaswa kuletwa mapendekezo ambayo itasema hata chifu anapaswa warejeshewe wale maafisa wao, ama kama sio hivyo, Bwana Spika, yule chifu aweze kupewa bunduki, kwa sababu wanatumika vizuri, sio tu kwa mambo ya usalama, hata wakati wanafunzi, nakumbuka tulipokuwa pale chuoni, kila wakati ukitaka kujaza kama ni basari, unaenda unauliza, kwa sababu anajua kila mwanafunzi, kila mzazi katika sehemu yake ataweza kupatiana kwa ufasaha ni nani huyu, ama wao ni maskini ama ni mtu aina gani, ndio aweze kujulikana vizuri, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo hiyo taarifa iliyoletwa nataka kuiunga mkono na kumwambia Jonas Maruma na kamati ambayo imepewa
kwa sababu machifu na maassistant chief ni watu wa muhimu sana kwa kila eneo, kwa sababu kupatiwa ulinzi, kwa sababu wanafichua njama ambazo ni za watu waofu na ambao wanaweza kuwarudia na kuwaumiza. Kwa hivyo wanaweka maisha yao hatarini wanapo chifu hawezi kufanya kazi vizuri bila wazee wa vijiji wa nyumba 10, na hao ndio wanafichua kule, wanapandishwa cheo kulingana na wakati uliowekwa, ama kuwe na wakati ambao umewekwa hao machifu na manaibu wao kupandishwa cheo. Nao pia wazee wa nyumba 10, Bwana Spika, ningeomba pia kamiti inapoenda kuangalia hii waone hao wazee pia wanalipwa, maana hao wazee huamshwa usiku wa manane, wanaenda pahali kuna mgonjwa, kuna uhalifu, na hata hawaogopi na hawapatiwi chochote na serikali. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri hata hao wazee wa nyumba 10 wawe wanalipwa ama wanapatiwa hata transport ya kwenda kule ambao wanaenda kuangalia. Utapata hata polisi kufanya kazi vizuri kwenye station zao, inabidi watumie machifu na manaibu wao na pia wazee wa nyumba 10 ili wapate ripoti za wale wahalifu pahali wako, na pia hawa wanawasaidia pia kuwapatia hiyo information yote. Asante sana Bwana Spika, ninaunga mkono kabisa na nitaendelea kuiunga. Asante.
Senator Wakele.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to appreciate the Honorable Senator Maruma for bringing out such a very important aspect of the national administration. The position of an assistant chief and chief is, Mr. Speaker, the lowest level of administration in the national government. And the proposal that this particular statement is seeking to have scheme of service for national government administrative officers is something that should have been done a while back. Mr. Speaker, this is a team of men and women who run our affairs as a nation at the lowest level of administration. They are the people who deal with each and every case before it gets to the police station, before it gets to court, before it gets to any other baraza that deals with it. They are the first point of call when there is a problem in any family, in any society. Mr. Speaker, having a scheme of service for these chiefs and assistant chiefs will help them in so many ways. One of which is very critical, Mr. Speaker, is to motivate them to know that you grow in the system. Having been employed in as an assistant chief, you have an opportunity to have your career progress when there is a scheme of service. Failure to have such a thing, definitely, Mr. Speaker, will always discourage them from performing their role. We have had sessions, Mr. Speaker, with a number of these people Over the weekend, I can confirm that I had a session with a number of them who, besides them operating without resources and without offices, most of them would operate from their homes. These are people who receive all kinds of problems and they are expected to deal with. Having a scheme of service, having them in a structured kind of an arrangement that they know, I get into office within a period of 3 years, I will have moved to the next level, will have them supported so that they deliver to the people that they represent. Mr. Speaker, this, as I've said, being the team that is also supporting the government in most of the public participations that we conduct, the people who convene these meetings, the people who calls upon the residents to participate are the area chiefs and assistant chiefs. Without them, Mr. Speaker, I am very sure we are unable to reach out to the people who are more important than those who are in white-collar places in their offices. And so I will call upon the committee that will be given this particular statement to deal with to go beyond the scheme of service and ensure that part of what they'll come out and up with is also an aspect that deals with the operationalization of a number of administrative units which have been gazetted across. I know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that in my county, we've got over 100 administrative units that have been gazetted but has not been operationalized. I want to ask that this committee goes beyond this aspect on their scheme of service and ensure that they support them so that they are able to do the job of that chief and assistant chief, which supports the national government in helping the residents that are looking up to them. Mr. Speaker, I support and ask that this report, or rather this statement, be expedited because it is very, very important. I thank you.
Now, Honorable Senators, we have expended the 15 minutes on this interrogating these statements. We will therefore move to the next order. Clerk.
Order number 8, motion, consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the Persons with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2023. Resumption of debate interrupted. On question to be put.
Now, Honorable Senator, this is a matter that does not affect counties, and therefore voting shall be by voice. Clerk, do we have the requisite quorum before I put the question? We do? All right. So, honorable members, I'll proceed to put the question. That the National Assembly amendments to the Persons with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2023, be now considered. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, resumption of debate, division. Order number 10, motion, report of the Mediation Committee on the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bills number 12 of 2023, division.
Now, honorable senators, we have, if you look at order number 11, 12, 13, and 14 to 15, as Committee of the Whole. Now, I do not see Senator Crystal Asige. I see Senator Edwin Sifuna. I don't see the majority leader who is supposed to handle 14, 15, and 13. I will therefore wish to defer the Committee of the Whole for now. We move to order number 16, which is the extension of the time of the selection panel for the recruitment of nominees for appointment as the chairperson and members of IEBC. Proceed to call that order.
Motion, extension of time to the selection panel for the recruitment of nominees for appointment as a chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Majority Leader.
Move the following motion. Extension of time for the selection panel of the Independent Boundaries Commission. Numbers 1901 and 2643, dated of March 23, respectively. His Excellency the President declared one and 6 vacancies for members of IEBC, further aware that via Gazette of 27 January 2025, appointed members of the selection panel for the recruitment of nominees for appointment as, and noting that upon its appointment, the selection panel commenced the recruitment and member of the IEBC. Further, noting that within 90 days of its appointment and forward the interviews of the shortlisted candidates for the position of chairperson and more shortlisted applicants, the selection panel has inadequate time to conclude the recruitment process of the IEBC, and that given the time to conclude the process, furthermore, conscious of the need for the selection panel to ensure within official working. Now, therefore, pursuant to the provisions of paragraph 6.2, menu of the selection panel for recruitment of persons for appointment from 28th of April 2025. I've literally explained the reasons of time. We've all been witnessing the interviews. There have been, these 14 days would not be there. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the House that we agree with them on their request, although that statement doesn't sit very well with the leadership of Kitui, then Parliament has not spoken. On this one, to speak. I therefore want to request colleagues, but as I do so, I would like to sound people with the necessary competences, did the timing and knew that within 90 days, these members of the selection panel, that if you are extending merely for purposes of having more days from which you can more for us to waste. Mr. Speaker, very well. And I hope that through this process, members who will have find it difficult, may I beg you, we have 5 constituencies in Kenya today that do not have representation. The late Senator William Chiptumo left us. The people of Baringo would like an opportunity to replace him. Moses, people of Malaba would like to have him. Hassan Maalim. It has taken so long. I remember Maalim taught me one thing. He was much younger back home in your place. The member of parliament was because of the finding of the petition court. Many wards, in fact, Narok Town, a Narok County, Jewani in Tana River County, and Dela Ward in Wajir County of electoral boundaries and delimitation. I therefore move the motion and the majority. It is the nature in which this matter was brought before us, but life goes on. So let's put that.
Nita, lakini mimi nimechukua nafasi hiyo kwa sababu ulikuwa ongea na dadangu nikasema ni sawa. Yeah.
Have you been requested to second?
Yes.
Kilifi,
sawa.
Senator Mazao,
Nishakuelewa Bwana Spika, asante.
Ni wako, endelea.
Bwana Spika, kwanza za muda kwa ile panel inaofanya interview makomishna. Panel hii Bwana Spika, ama jopo hili Bwana Spika, unalo jambo ambalo wameliona kwamba muda ukifika watakuwa hawajakamilisha, na ndio sababu ndeka wakitumaini ya kwamba wanaweza kumaliza muda wa kawaida ili Wakenya waweze kupata. Bwana Spika, tupate kazi ambayo iko safi. Vile vile Bwana Spika, katika wale watu ambao wanakuwa interviewed, Bwana Spika, sehemu mbalimbali za Kenya, na hii si kazi ambayo unaweza kuketi tu. Bwana Spika, ni jambo kubwa ama jambo ambalo liko na mzigo mkubwa kada. Bwana Spika, tunajua kwamba hivi sasa katika Kenya, Bwana Spika, si kazi rahisi, na hii imefanya kwamba Bwana Spika, hivi tunavyoongea kuna mwenzetu aliweza kufanya petition na kufaulu, na hatimaye ni muda mrefu zaidi kuweza kuketi nyumbani na kuweza kuona, na hatimaye hivi sasa atarudi tena katika ile mashindano ili aweze kuchukua kiti chake tena. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba ingekuwa nafasi nzuri tutayarisha ili kupata mbunge, na tuna matumaini, nayo matumaini makubwa ya kwamba kama kijana kama Cherargei anaongea pale na mimi naongea, si haki.
And 1st of March 2023, respectively, His Excellency the President 6 vacancies for the position of members of the IEBC. Further, aware that members of the selection panel for the recruitment are the chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, noting that upon its appointment, the selection scheduled to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Cap 7C provides that the selection panel shall finalize the recruitment undertaking the interviews of the shortlisted candidates for the positions of chair. Schedule of all shortlisted applicants, the selection panel has inadequate time to conclude the overall inclusivity while ensuring that the interviews are conducted as far as practicable. The Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act, Cap 7C, for recruitment of persons for appointment as chairperson from the 28th of April 2025. The 28th of April 2025. Now, Honorable Senators, the floor is open to put the question. That is time on each member contributing to 5.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and running the House through part of what is very critical in terms of supporting this motion, and if it didn't exist, and it is the Commission that oversees elections of all important commission that as we debate on this motion, fast track whatever process that set up a commission that will now undertake the elections. Constituencies, counties, and county assemblies that do not either the National Assembly, the Senate, or in county assembly, or constituencies or wards where they do not. A 14-day period in the circumstances, Madam Speaker, is not reasonable. We are aware that they have been conducting interviews. They have closed on the as to why this committee is asking for more time is to facilitate them to have sufficient time. The applicants to these various positions, from that of the chairperson to that of commissioners, has more time was taken to interview those who were being interviewed for the position of chair. Sufficient time of the commission, and asking for 14 days, Madam Speaker, in the circumstances is not reasonable. And these counties, and one county actually where our former colleague, the late Senator Cheptumo, represent the county of Baringo, are looking forward to electing a replacement of. I know that despite the fact that, Madam Speaker, there is also the issue on the boundaries regulations, which is the mandate of this House, but much of it would originate from report. But I also want to urge the members of the Commission that they should not look at 14 days to be a lot of days, because you might end up getting the 14 on resources that is being utilized in the process of these particular interviews. There is a secretariat that is to make sure that they conclude the process for the people. A functional independent electoral commission that will prepare towards the 2027 election of Kenya in what they'll be doing. Madam Speaker, I therefore support and ask the honorable members to equally support.
Madam Speaker, to contribute to, from the word go, I must go on record. Must do a better job at consulting the other side of the House on matters that are, whether actually what our sister to this kind of arrangement can just ambush one side of the House with a motion as important as this. Moving the motion, I listened to my boss, the minority leader. I am asking myself the big question, why should I support this motion? If I was to go by the contribution of the whip, we should all go. The National Assembly has already passed the motion. Madam Speaker, that can never be that the panel just, realized that they could not undertake the task in front of them, and now for that reason, let us give them for the interviews. Madam Speaker, there is called beginning with the end in mind. And I expected that the panelists are a shirt or a suit. You do it both, Madam Speaker, the fabric that you have. You cannot shortlist, and you cannot wake up one day and tell us, we want to be able to operate within of regional balance and youth representation. If you have not been able to do that within to support this motion. Madam Speaker, I keep asking myself, when these people are asking for 14 extra days, the leader of the Senate comes from. These people have been waiting, Madam Speaker, for...
add him some few seconds to finish. Final please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the indulgence. Madam Speaker, nothing stops these people, the panelists, up to midnight to transact important national business. Why is it? Why is it that instead of asking for and midnight to transact this business? Madam Speaker, I will reserve the final comment on this. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cherarki, you speak only when
when we were signing the partnership between ODM and UDA, I didn't see Wiper present. Wiper was not part of engagement. Mr. Speaker.
Accuracy and statement of fact. Is the Speaker, if the Senator for Nandi can produce any document signed by Edwin Sifie, what he's saying. I have never signed any agreement, and I don't intend.
Madam Speaker, I didn't say he signed. His party leader signed. Right.
Once you've withdrawn and apologized, proceed to make your point.
But they are sabotaging our
Gerarke,
partnership between ODM and UDA, and it should go on record as such. Mr. Questions of integrity. But the selection panel of IBC are underwhelming. You have participated in electoral process, and you could see that the selection panel did not know what they were doing. But looking at the content that the selection panel was doing to vet and interview those interviewees, it's so many brilliant fools in this country who masquerade, Madam Speaker, and do broad-based, Madam Speaker. I want to appeal to Senator Wambua to support this process. Because William Ruto are fearful to have IBC in place. It is because they fear the...
Understanding Order 105. Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka finds his way.
Senator, the point of order.
The point of order, Madam Speaker, is I want the Senator of these two issues. That, Madam Speaker, the Senator of the statements.
Please substantiate or withdraw.
His leader. Can the answer be produced, Madam Speaker, so that from there...
Senator Gerarke, in his final words, he actually said...
Objecting the IBC selection panel, and ODM was not part of them.
Senator Gerarke, please note that and continue with the motion.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, on the issue of review and demolition to review, Madam Speaker, there are many others protected constituencies. Number two, Madam Speaker, there are so many by-elections, Magarini, Banisa, Baringo County, have been placed to conduct by-elections. Misquoted. I said, instead of putting them to cabinet, so that we save the country the agony of by-election and paying double salary. Because you only need responsibility allowance, and I will just give him responsibility allowances, come to parliament, go back to the cabinet, so that we save...
Senator Sifuna.
Begin by registering very strong protest on behalf of the minority side of majority, the Honorable Senator for Kericho, Aaron Cheriot. I was unable to reach him because we in this House have agreed that it is very contemptuous for you to introduce a motion in such a way to this particular motion. Secondly, Honorable Speaker of ODM, I was reading a statement saying that ODM will not countenance any further to be told today that there is a motion on the order paper in the National Assembly, our counterparts there. They forwarded to me a letter from this panel, signed by the chairs through both houses of parliament. Honorable Speaker, it is unacceptable. It is unaccepted at 14 days, and there is nothing that stops us as a House. 4 days, or 7 days, or 2 days, if we wanted to. And they are citing various reasons. Strongly objected to this.
He does not want to be informed. Let him
happen. Me and Senator Wambua are never going to fight. But the truth of the matter, have a nominee to cabinet, and there is a young man from Kajiado waiting to replace John Bad. Some of these political parties that you see making noise about ODM, I have asked Senator Wambua to distance himself and his party from some of these non-entities making noise to deal with these people, mundu kumundu. And they know me. And I don't want you to catch strays, as we say in the streets. Honorable Speaker, some of the panelists are talking too much. They like to listen to themselves. Instead of putting a question to a candidate and allowing them to talk, we want the candidates, the people who are coming to run elections, to speak so that we can know what they are all about. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, be allowed to go on any further. Mr. Makanda should have known that there are 2 houses of parliament. He is a PhD holder, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would also want to just speak about the procedure. Then after the committee has deliberated on it, is when now it was written to the 2 houses.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I would like, under statement, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Senator Wetangula, should just write that letter and extend.
I'm talking about the procedure, where, Honorable Speaker, the letters was made after deliberation been brought to this House. It's upon this House to either extend the 14 days or reduce. I won't withdraw, Chair, because that was the letter.
The law says that Parliament may extend time. You write to Parliament. Procedure, as Senator Mandago has rightly pointed out. Or why is this matter here? If she insists on that line, then Senator Korir says he has under the Parliamentary Service Commission.
Senator Korir, let me guide you. No, that is not the procedure, and you know that. Can we deal with the first, the more reason why you must withdraw? I'm guiding you.
The Vice Chair of the Commission. The truth of the matter is the National Assembly. But on this one, Madam Chair, I know we are the one, then when I was the Commissioner,
Senators, Honorable Senators, I have requested the clerk to have been attached to the motion. So are you able to help the House? Do you have it? Please.
Madam Speaker, because Commissioner did the copy of the letter on the official services for this panel, we are asking ourselves which institution to recognize the leadership of both houses. The Speaker of this House is going to defend this institution. You must stop this practice where people imagine that if you write...
I want to make reference to the letter. Can you please just, Senator Sifuna, you...
stroke IEBC stroke CORR stroke dated the 20th of March 2025. It is addressed to the Right Honorable Dr. Moses F.M. Wetangula, EGH MP, Speaker of the...
Can you proceed to the extent... No, it was a point of order where the House, as
the clarity that we wanted as a House, and I also honorable member because he's very thorough when it comes to the procedures. And it's clear that the reason why I'm raising this, Madam Speaker, is because
Honorable Service Commission, one of the functions of Parliamentary Service Commission.
Can you?
Madam Speaker, it cannot be that the correspondent of Parliament, as insisted under Article 93.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think Honorable Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Honorable
this time, eh?
First,
Senator Cherargei, you listen in silence.
Point of order is understanding order one of waste time in this House. We debate. There is a difference between being written a letter and being copied.
In this Senate, and I want to repeat again, and I had said before, Speaker don't receive letters. Letters are sent to the clerk. And in fact, from content, it was written to the Commission, Chairman of the Commission, and that's why you are seeing the Clerk of the Senate is written here very clearly, Clerk of the Senate and Secretary to the Commission, because it followed very well. The person who was being...
Read to finish her argument on this issue.
That we need to agree. This is a very... also a number of bending works that need to be done. Remember, we've not done register, but where we are, I will plead with you, led by our to the next item. So otherwise, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I would want to request that is fairly the procedure and less kindly.
Senator Cherargei, we will listen to...
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to oppose this motion, because when listening to what has been going on, there's no request to Parliament to extend, and I agree with those who have said that where Parliament is supposed to be asked, it's not correct that, or for petitions, but request a special favor from Parliament extension of time. Madam Speaker, I've looked through as to why we should extend the time of the IEBC. Now, therefore, there's no reason given why they want to extend time, as the National Assembly has done.
Would it be proper for them to justify why? I think we should approach this thing with the seriousness it deserves. Must give us reasons why they need the time extended. And in an believable, they want an extension of time. This being a house of record, I would not like to be associated with this, and so I oppose the motion.
Let me first say that indeed, as a country, as soon as possible, and we must appreciate that there has been quite, Honorable Speaker, and there are matters to be heard through their representatives. In view of that, Madam Speaker, of time for them to be able to conduct their work, Madam Speaker, that the time be extended for the full election or credible election is also determined by the amount of preparation that is put in place. That would be giving room for those who will be selected as commissioners and chair of the commission, who happens to be the Speaker of the National Assembly, should not receive a letter on 20th March and it is being supplied to us for the selection panel. But next time, Madam Speaker.
Senator Nyamu.
In place, so as selected by the President. We cannot ignore the fact that the Senate are coming up with the IBC commissioners. We cannot be one of the people, one of the institutions.
You want to reply or you want to speak?
I want to speak.
Majority?
No.
What is about? I was in the farm in Kericho planting sugarcane, but then I was told, you know, this selection panel, Madam Speaker, this is our baby. It's a selection panel which suffered very many challenges in its setting up, some of which and they have a very tight schedule. Interviews for public positions previously when I was in PSC. It's a very of shapes and sizes, but eventually you have to make a decision. Now, as per to the President, the list of the nominees for him to select, I think if my memory serves me right, 3 names, I think hundreds of them from the short list, and do a report is Parliament. Our own staff are the ones that are tabulating the results and welcoming staffers, as we have done previously in many other institutions. When we have this other one, for accountants, what is it called? Assembly on many things, and I've said all those things here on this floor. But it is important to also understand that he has another who sits in this house with us. In fact, Madam Speaker, because I happen to have the letter now from PSC to all the houses, that letter is written by National Assembly could equally have chosen to complain inferences as a house.
Proper motive on our part to raise those objections. Yet, the move of that information that you're now referring to the House prior to the motion. Majority Leader, you out now, should have been with the members before. And your letter, I mean, what are we to make of this? We asked our Speaker, he had not seen the letter. We have had to get this letter from the National Assembly. You have come to the House late, and you're telling us you're growing sugarcane in Kericho, when I know it.
In Gunias on balconies. They don't understand the geography of Kenya. There is a lot of sugarcane in Kericho, my good friend Senator Sifuna. I agree with them that they needed to be in the know. I do confess also myself that it's only when I saw the host as Madam Speaker, more than 1 year. No, Madam Speaker, when we passed the initial law, it is this Omtata who went to court and said Parliament had allocated himself more than enough at what has been done now. So with those many remarks, I want to urge that we give IBC selection. Members of political parties are looking forward to nominate people, participate in those campaigns. Find that candidate, we meet, and we square this in Malava are very limited. That's what Alwale has informed me many times, that is a corner of Kakamega that is completely yellow.
Speaker, I beg to urge my colleagues that we support this motion. I thank you. Thank you.
Or rather, to put, you know, Madam Speaker, on English, he made sure we spoke good English. That's why you see me quickly run away from the teacher who taught him English. I rise to reply, and I want to thank all colleagues. The challenges, and I look forward in this country is replete with those many remarks. I reply. Yeah? Let me see in the.
Ascertain that we have quorum. The question: aware that Vide Gazette Notice Number C for the position of the chairperson of IEBC. Further aware that Vide Gazette Notice Number 715 of nominees for appointment as the chairperson and Electoral and Boundaries Commission, noting that upon its appointment, the selection panel shortlisted qualified applicants for the position of chairperson, and member C provides that the selection panel shall finalize the recruitment schedule of all shortlisted applicants. The selection panel has inadequate for the selection panel to ensure the recruitment process complies with the constitutional principles of regional balance working within official working days and hours. Now, therefore, pursuant to the tenure of the selection panel for the recruitment April 2025. Will as many say nay? The ayes have it. Say it quickly. Next order.
On energy, on its inquiry into the liquefied petroleum gas.
You'll do it?
The motion on the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on its inquiry into the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on its inquiry into the liquefied petroleum gas since the inception of this House. This particular report, Honorable Speaker, was prepared under the auspices of the previous committee. February 2024, an LPG explosion occurred in the Mradi area of Embakasi, used for storing and filling gas cylinders. This explosion, a massive fire which spread to nearby buildings, causing extensive damage to residential and commercial properties. Following this, we resolved, together with members of the committee, that we had to conduct an inquiry why the LPG refilling facility was located so close to a human settlement and the regulatory requirements of having an LPG refill and storage facility, details of LPG refill and storage. So during these deliberations, Honorable Speaker, we held 6 meetings as a committee, and I want to thank members of this committee led by the director and gas explosives expert at and the Energy Dealers Association. With your permission, Speaker, I will just run through multiple legal regulatory bodies in the licensing process, which creates a complex web of responsibility somewhere there. And then they will go with that approval to NEMA, say we are setting up a garage. In fact, this particular site, they didn't even have a license from EPRA to operate a gas filling legal regulatory bodies, and the fact that they do not coordinate and speak to each other when responsible. As I said, that LPG refilling plant in Mradi was registered as a garage and not an LPG. Honorable Speaker, complex web of many regulatory bodies led to the fact that this company, in fact, had a valid environmental impact license. Incident, Honorable Speaker, EPRA suspended all operational licenses issued to Maxis Nanyuki Energy, who was the operator of this particular, implementing safety measures like firewalls, reducing the required distance from residential areas to about 35 meters. Honorable Speaker, obtained an LPG storage and filling plant license, and those found culpable be charged in accordance with cases relating to non-compliance of LPG regulations. Energy must expedite the approval of the zoning boundaries prior to issuing any permits. Honorable Speaker, the committee also, because we would want him to address the proliferation of gas filling plants and even petrol stations, especially in residential areas, which is on page 12, that the affected victims should be compensated through the National Disaster Management Unit, whose main function is to administer a comprehensive emergency. I want to wish the various to thank the committee and submitted their views, including the cabinet secretaries, NEMA, EPRA, PI, and our hearts go out to all those affected. As the committee responsible, we have made a commitment for their support during the entire process of considering this matter. It is now my pleasant duty, Energy Committee, the majority leader, to second the motion. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That despite the fact that I have a position of privilege now, it may as well just have been on energy for taking the time to look through this, hope can fully be implemented. Senator Sifuna, you know, in the House about whether to have an implementation committee or not. And I have always maintained the position and proposal to ensure that they, Mr. Speaker, including the charging and being brought to be able to overcome, is how we can quickly close some of what you'd consider to be an open-shut case. Because there's nothing complex about this matter. Somebody was operating an Mr. Speaker, who lives somewhere within that proximity. Somebody, a good friend of mine that I play football with and were with in high. Why is it that this case, Mr. Speaker, and you are a lawyer, you understand, just copy world established practices? We'd wish to know, as the Houses of Parliament and as leaders, what is it that we can do with our judiciary? And there were demonstrations, and somehow they spilled over and almost turned into chaos and racial hate. The case watches the CCTV. Who I'm seeing, after they put their defense, the following morning they show up with a time in jail. I don't understand why in Kenya it is extremely impossible. That has been brought before us, Mr. Speaker, the agencies and state departments of EPRA, where it is increasingly clear that where there are shared responsibilities between EPRA to be conducted to enhance transparency, efficiency, and compliance. You know, the unfortunate is they see them as a cash cow. I will not be surprised if seen to look the other way and eventually this happened. Mr. Speaker, it will be slept on the job. Because an LPG storage facility incident was alive in the country, citizens said had been operational for years to ensure that this never happens in any part of this country. Are adhered to. You know, many times it's easy to blame Parliament. many times on lack of good laws. We have passed very many good laws, Mr. Speaker. It is the implementation that we continue to struggle with. Many times we in the political class, that they are, Mr. Speaker, that they are found to have pilfered public resources. Somebody who's your closest friend, you'd maintain what I'd refer to, but we don't feel embarrassed because we have done. There are many problems that people continue to deal with. It is not for lack of laws that this country, clubs all over, yet there is a county government, there is NEMA, Mr. Speaker, and when complicit in this, because many of these institutions, when the county government shut them, they go, shall we continue to just come and cry and say, oh, this? Realize that many times, Mr. Speaker, it takes even ignoring of court orders for people to achieve some. There is also a recommendation that the committee actually went into this issue of zoning, a good one actually, Mr. Speaker, that physical, there is an expectation that actually it will be so that if there are incidences such as this, you don't have members of the public. We share these recommendations with EPRA and ask them actually to guide report be dispatched to the following institutions. This is what I was speaking of governors, Nairobi City County, for the purpose of implementing within a period of 6 months from the day 2024, meaning the 6 months are almost over. Actually, they are over the committee. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I must continue to pass. Teams expect that one, no other Kenyan will face and sentence, Mr. Speaker, with murder because, or manslaughter at the very worst, Mr. Speaker, because they knew what. Then there is no motivation to respect the rule of law. And that is a challenge, the biggest challenge considered actually, Mr. Speaker, to be serious breaches of law. Challenges that we continue to speak about year in, year out. It's to see the challenge of corruption in this country. The president, when he last addressed last year in November, did tell the Senate, we don't allocate resources and we have no ways and means through which we can bring. We are able to conclude within 6 months election petitions, Mr. Speaker, so that once DPP is satisfied that you're fine a reduction of corruption cases. So long as happen to you is that you will take plea and then you will be released, and it will take, I don't know how many, Mr. Speaker, people will not respect these laws. Therefore, I want to urge colleagues to take time to read this report and the hundreds of others whose lives have been affected one way, sets in place the procedures to ensure that this never happens again. To second.
Inquiry into the liquefied petrol explosion in Muradi area, Embakasi, Nairobi, 24.
Now, members, I will invite those who are...
This report is concerned. It's a very important report, Mr. Speaker, because when I was able to get to site, and Mr. Speaker, when some lost their lives, some trying to come to terms with what had happened, and Mr. Speaker, seeing them in the take up this matter, and looking at the report briefly, as I've just matters energy, different stakeholders come together, and these businesses, as far as LPG gas is concerned, Mr. Speaker, and they range from, Mr. Speaker, we also have Energy Dealers Association that I've seen that they were also able to, which tells you that this composition of stakeholders is very important because the construction of a site of LPG, we have to have also be licensed as far as the facilities are concerned. So it's deeper, it's not tense policies, intense at the were able to ensure that this company, I think it's called Maxis something, Energy Petroleum, because I saw business people who have businesses, they had to shut down, they had to restart, Mr. Speaker. So then it is a high time that they ensure these facilities, they have adhered to the requirement. This is not the first time in this country that we see such explosion recommended institutions, they give further report on the speaker. It will not just be one facility, but it will be the essence. Then they go deeper to get into and to be able to ensure, because all these companies cut across all majority of these particular companies. An estate is within clubs or what do you call them? Clubs and pubs. This takes place, you know. So the issue of ensuring proximity, the construction permit was issued by the same EPRA, yet this facility was within systems should ensure they fasten this so that it sets an example. They take time, someone is just free, they're still continuing these businesses, because even looking at this report, this of more scrupulous business people undertaking these businesses and exposing Kenyans.
Tabitha, Senator Karen Nyamu.
From the Energy Committee, that company that caused this tragedy in Embakasi, Nairobi, had unsuccessfully applied for license. The Energy Committee has done a good job, and all I can say is that we hope that every single recommendation in that report is going to be in place to ensure that the lives of Kenyans needed approach, so that you don't get requirements of NEMA, and a recommendation that we have a unified permit for such activity, for such operations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Karen.
In Bomet County. I hope the governor was not crying, because the pictures we are seeing, because the pictures we are seeing, maybe when the issue of Mr. Speaker, under the law they are supposed to regulate, Mr. Speaker, sir. On many occasions, Mr. Speaker, LPG gas company to operate within the residential area, Mr. Speaker. Even when we pass the issue of alcohol within residential areas, I have seen here in Nairobi, and my two sisters, Nairobi delegation, see environmental compliance officer running around in Nairobi, trying to tell people you cannot operate disco. Speaker. Even the opening of bars, you cannot open within schools. There is a regulation that has been given. But the law provided for EPRA only, Mr. Speaker, sir. EPRA under the law asks whether fuel prices has gone up or has down. They must tell us, this country, know that there is what we call criminal negligence. Who issued this license is a residential area. It should be thorough, Mr. Speaker, as we talk. Should have been investigation and prosecution of the owner company, officers from EPRA who approve, office for criminal negligence for the loss of property and lives, Mr. Speaker, sir. And therefore, I want to thank the Committee of Energy. We were able to sanction the Minister of Energy then. Ragu and County Commission and Canada were taking 20 million to fight dam tragedy, Mr. Speaker. So on this LPG cars that happened in Muradi area in Bakasi, Mr. Speaker, Nairobi City County, because if the other day they were dumping garbage at the steamer house here in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. Number two, so number one, the family should be compensated. The public health officers used to come. Mr. Speaker, when you walk to hustler shops, even in Bomet, up or from public health, from county, from national government, so the person who normally go and inspects what was, Mr. Speaker, when I'm dispensing wisdom freely on this motion on compensation, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy when they go back, probably this Easter week, 6, and most of the and senators are overworking.
For you to make arrangements for them to be formally welcomed to this house. And of course, as you say, the senators are overworking.
Yes.
Of course, including their senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that indulgence. I know on behalf, even you yourself, Mr. Speaker, that they are welcome and they should learn others to be people who can serve this nation with it. They should feel welcome on behalf of you, Speaker, and the House. And Mr. Speaker, I've addressed them out that your message should reach Nandi. You are still welcome to organize. And even Senator Mohammed Abbas, we should relook at it. We should, Mr. Speaker, I was in the wires that belong to Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Mr. Speaker, they are almost falling off. Because, Mr. Speaker, gas is a very sensitive issue. Mr. Speaker, we have had cases where the explosion of gases, Mr. Speaker, in Naivasha, there was an accident where the Speaker. So even as we talk about LPG gas within the residential areas, Mr. Speaker, we must also ensure the transportation of gas transported, they get accident, it becomes a danger to pedestrians, Mr. Speaker. Why don't we as a country even we need, and I want a committee of energy to give us within, in fact, Mr. Speaker, I would have expected the committee by today evening or by the laying of this report, Mr. Speaker, to respect us as a house. They should be closed anyway, then we must ensure. You remember, Mr. Speaker, and you are mentioning career, Kokwet elders, or elders, what do you call the Kokwet elders, Mr. Speaker?
Senator Cherargei, you're still in Parliament, mind the parliamentary language that is approved to be utilized while you are addressing the House.
My apology. In Gao, Mr. Speaker, you are very clear that we need elders with the indulgence of the standing orders, Mr. Speaker. Even where I come from, Mr. Speaker, they should have an opportunity to give intelligence of these operated, Mr. Speaker, or we call them Mukasa, or you call them village elders. We must remunerate them, Mr. Speaker. For example, myself, Mr. Speaker, in captures of what is happening in the society, it is the correct person. But, Mr. Speaker, we don't need them to go to school. Why would you need academic quality? LPG gas plants might be operating illegally. And that is how we'll be able to fight this menace, Mr. Speaker. Facebook, there is Twitter. Why don't they publish on the website and say, please, what is the address? Who is the owner? So that if that explosion happens, Mr. Speaker, we can. I think also you are alumni of Tenwek High School, and I'm happy that that school you audit. So that when we tell Wananchi, Mr. Speaker, go and confirm. Nowadays, with the era, Mr. Speaker, you know there were quite a number. There were 109 students from ACK, Cheptil, ACK Bishop Kogo. A lot of things, unlike our era, Mr. Speaker. I don't know, the other ones were called GNC. There is the Alpha. I don't know which group is this. Regulation of EPRA, we want to urge them, Mr. Speaker. Let us have EPRA, your job is not only to read the prices of petroleum from January. Our accountability is quite high, Mr. Speaker. But I have never, when we want to hold accountability to these people, Mr. Speaker, they find it very on the issue of inquiry into the LPG gas explosion in Muradi area, Embakasi, Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. The LPG gas plants in our estates, in residential areas, must be immediately. Compensation must happen. And finally is to urge EBRA to do more than just reading the prices of fuel from January.
Thank you very much, Senator Cherargei Nandi, for your contribution to this particular motion, which of course is very, very important.
Energy report that has been presented. I want to join my colleagues also to times of debating, and therefore I beg to reply with those. And pursuant to Standing Order 663, I request that the
motion is deferred to a later date. Now, honorable senators, moving of that motion, similarly, in the absence of the movers of orders under standing order, the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration into an